So it's daily wages what? Suppose you put in 10,000, 30 days, you put in 10,000 as weekly pay.
Hi, Selvan. You can hear me?
Sure. Hello, and welcome to Talent Lab Television. Every Saturday at 4 p.m., we try and connect with the HR fraternity. And we've done a few shows in the previous Saturdays. We had Kitty Krishnamurthy as our first episode. And in the last one, we talked about talent along with Selvan George and Dean Dylan. And today we have an interesting guest with us. And I'll introduce you soon. And as you had already seen our flyer, it's none other than MrHN Srinivas, and he'll join us soon. And we're going to be talking around organizational culture and his experiences and all of the fantastic stuff that he's done. So without much delay, I'm going to welcome MrHN Srinivas. Good evening, sir, and welcome to our studios.
Good evening, and I am happy to interact with all of you. Thanks for inviting me.
It's wonderful and lovely to have you. And you have such a fantastic experience working most of your time within the Taj Group. And I would like to understand where you started and how did you progress on to where you eventually held on to some serious positions. So where did you start, which part of the city, and how did your career graph grow?
Well, I did a brief stint with a public sector company, the General Insurance Corporation of India, in the early part of my career. And in 1984, I joined Taj Hotel. That time, Taj had only about 15 hotels in India and abroad, 15, 16 hotels. So today, Taj has some 140 hotels, not only in India, but in certain key regions of the world. In Europe, in Africa, in the United States, in Australia, in Southeast Asia, in many of these, exotic tourist locations, they have set up hotels and resorts. And they have 4 divisions, and all the divisions are operating extremely well. I'm not counting the period of pandemic during which all hotel companies are going through enormous stress. Outside of this, Taj Hotels is a very successful hotel company. And I started in Bangalore as my HR head for a couple of hotels, 3-4 hotels in 1984. And I grew in the company and landed up as senior vice president and global head of human resources for Taj Hotels worldwide. And that position I held for 7 years. And I retired in 2014. Middle of 2014, I did a 1-year assignment with Tata Sons on skill development. And then I've been working on and off with Tata Trust on a number of assignments relating to skills and evaluation and monitoring of a number of social sector projects, interacting with government agencies, and it's a whole new set of skills and experience that I'm gaining, but I'm enjoying that, and that's where I am.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, from what you're saying, you didn't start with the Taj or the Tatas, but you eventually landed there. So, how difficult was the unlearning? Because I know the Tatas group and then Taj in particular is a different ball game altogether. And so, was the unlearning difficult, or it was just natural to progress into a completely
Well,
different?
I was working earlier also for a service industry, that is insurance company. The public sector, those are the early days for nationalized general insurance. We still could see some private sector kind of efficiencies, talent, and brilliant teams working in the company, which gradually started kind of obliterating and disappearing over several years. And I worked there for 5, 6 years and then decided to move on to Taj. This transition was, well, I mean, getting from insurance into hotels on one side, both are service sector companies. On the other side, one was public sector, the other one was private sector, the two Tatas, and a highly specialized service sector. And I was fortunate to have a boss during those days in Taj called V.S. Mahesh, whom I consider as some kind of a guru for me. And I learned a lot working with him. He was a genius. He set up the HR department in Tata Motors way back in 1970, 71, 72, and then moved to Taj in 1980. He worked with Arun Maira, and Arun Maira and V.S. Mahesh set up the HR department. One of the few companies who called their people function as HR in the early days was Tata Motors. And he moved to Taj, and he was in Taj. He was the one who selected me, and I enjoyed working with him. I learned a lot. So he made the transition very smooth.
Okay, that's good, because I've heard certain other people within the Tata group, not within time, you to be their guru. In some of the way they've gone about approaching human resources in a completely out of box kind of a solution, not looking in a very templated, especially in the area of talent acquisition, not looking at normal CV, they're not looking at the normal recruitment channel, trying something else completely different, and how well that has worked for them. And they said Srinivas ji was a guru, and he kind of influenced us in order to look into the non-conventional areas of talent sourcing. So that I understand. I've seen that work in many other organizations within Tata's and outside. So how did that happen? Is that something that you naturally had a heart for the rural, or because not even now as we speak, people talk about labor shortage, talent shortage, and all of that, but looks like they're not looking at the whole canvas. They're looking at certain pockets, and then they say we're not getting enough talent. So, I'd like to hear from you. How did that approach started, and why?
Well, I have always believed India has enormous talent. I never accepted this statement by some of my professional colleagues. I respect them a lot, and it was a conversation. I had a different point of view, which they also respected me. I held a view that there is abundant talent in India, and it's raw talent. And organizations have a role and responsibility in hiring the right kind of talent with the right attitudes, and train them in skills and adapt them and assimilate them to the company culture, and groom them as leaders for a period of time. There is a responsibility cast on the human resource function, the people function in the company, to identify that raw talent and onboard them and train them to become future leaders for the company, which is what we believed in, and we did that very systematically. And so there is shortage of talent, and there is war for talent. All these phrases and jargons which I've been hearing of late in the last 10 years, I have always disagreed in international forums, national forums. Whenever I've been invited to speak, I've told them, because there is no dearth of talent in India. The words of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam rings in my mind when he wrote his book, when he was being interviewed. on in India of my dreams 2020. He wrote this about 25 years before. That is in 1993, 94, 90. During those years, he wrote this. He dreamt that India will become an economic superpower by 2020. And it is getting a little delayed, that's all, but it is heading in that direction, is my view. And he said one mistake all of you make during the course of his discussion with the interviewer. He said one mistake you make is to think that ready-made talent is the approach for organizations of whatsoever nature, public sector, private sector, and also in any technology-related areas, the industry sectors, whether it is textiles, whether it is hospitality, whether it is mining and minerals, whether it is capital goods and manufacturing. In any sector you take, expecting ready-made talent itself is a false. Itself, I think, is an illusion. We should never even think of identifying somebody who is ready to take up a job. I mean, that shows that there is poor planning on behalf of HR leaders and also the organizations. See, he said that there is a rising of talent in this country, the enormous talent, and India is sure to become a superpower. And the interviewer was asking him, there is when there is so much of noise about talent shortage, when we don't match any product or any service to international standards, how do you say India will become a superpower? And we are not demonstrated any which way that we are heading in that direction. He said, look here, you don't see talent rising in India. It is not rising in only cities. Talent of this country is rising in the interior parts of the country, in the villages and towns, small towns, not in the top 10 cities. And this talent is not rising from rich families and well-educated, convent-trained people. It is and very high-paying school education. Talent is rising from the homes of the poor, in villages, in towns, from the homes of farmers and fishermen. And this is gathering momentum, and it is once this upsurge becomes a storm, the stirrings are very clearly seen. Like a visionary, he said, I can see the stirrings, and this will become a wave, an upsurge. And this will engulf any demand in any part of the world one day in the near future. It's not going to take 100 years, it's going to take 25 years, 30 years. And Indian talent will be sought after all across the world. But there is a responsibility cast on the organizations to pick the right talent for the attitudes and train them in skills. This is part one. And if you want to know how Taj did it, I can narrate that. But if you have any other questions, you can ask me.
I had a related question. Sourcing talent from the cities or the towns, I would say, is fairly stable. We know how to do that. Organizations know how to do that. But I don't believe that we'll take the same approach when you go and acquire talent in a rural or a village setup. Now, how did you go, or how does that happen? Because I don't believe they're both one and the same.
See, it's like this. I represented an industry those days, hotel industry, which was rising, and tourism sector was growing in India. And we had to differentiate our service and our products. Multinational hotel companies started establishing their presence in India. There was a La Méridien, there was a Marriott, there was a Hilton, and they gradually started entering India and setting up hotels in key cities of the country. So we could see what is coming in the next 15, 20, 30 years. We expected that there will be a barrage of multinational hotel companies setting up in all key tourist locations, hotels and resorts, which has happened now, and it's growing and expanding further, not to count the current pandemic situation, otherwise. Now, so we said, how do we differentiate our service? How does Taj keep its head high and up there where it belonged always and remain there despite this multinational competition? And how is it that we can comprehensively outperform them? What is our game plan? What is our strategy? So how do we build walls around our customers and get them to tell us, look, Taj is fantastic, the service that they offer, it's difficult for any other company to replicate it. So how do we create it? So we realized we need to hire youngsters for attitudes, for discipline, for cultured upbringing, and train them in skills. Cultured upbringing is not affluent upbringing. It is not. In fact, it's the contrary. Now, when we went to some interior parts of India and went to a town like a Karwar, Shimoga, if people are familiar with this, in Hubli in Karnataka, Warangal and Vizag and places like that in Andhra, and Kadalore, Tirunelveli, and these kind of places in Tamil Nadu. I'm just giving a sample example of towns, the kind of towns we went. And we made some discrete inquiries locally, which are the schools and colleges which are known for discipline, good quality of teaching and training, and respect the students demonstrate towards faculty, teachers, and headmaster and other instructors. And which is the school, the best school, known for high standards of quality and culture. So it is easy, you can make out. A lot of people tell you this so-and-so school, St. Joseph's Convent and St. Peter's Convent, Ramakrishna Mission Convent. So like this, we go into those schools, we spoke to the principal or the headmaster, and we discussed with him, and we told him, look, we're looking at recruiting youngsters, boys and girls, and train them for about a year in hospitality skills, and then groom them over a period of time to become managers in Taj hotels. But the first response from them was, okay, they don't know English. They're all official people, local people. So what are you looking for? We said we are looking for discipline. We are looking for positive attitude. We are looking for energy, positive energy, enthusiasm, and a certain kind of passion. We are looking for respect for elders. We are looking for, volunteering to serve people. We are looking for these kind of qualities. You see, if you do a CSR project in the school, helping the nearby village to build a street, that is a road, who are those 10 boys who volunteer with a lot of energy and enthusiasm? And who are those boys and girls who volunteer to come and stand for the prayer morning? See, these kind of things. Who are those boys and girls who are very regular in submitting their assignments? They have not even faltered once. Who are those boys who reach out and help other boys when they are in a predicament? Some little accident happens and these boys come running and take them. There is a certain leadership quality. There is a certain empathy. There is a certain humanness that they demonstrate. Who are those boys and girls? And now we get a list of names. We interview them, not asking them some difficult question and proving that we know better than them. See, these things happen in an interview situation. Once again, I'm in a call. I'll call you back.
Yeah.
Sometimes in these interviews, we ask them some question, who is the president of France and all that, and those boys will not know that. And then we give a smile at them and say, I know and you don't know that. See, that's no interview. That makes no sense. We need to understand what is it that they know. What is he enthusiastic about? What is he passionate about? What does he like to do in life? These are the kind of questions we need to ask and bring out that positive thoughts and energy from him and relate to that and hide those. See, there is at every stage there is innovation. Sourcing, the manner in which you find them through reference and verification from the principal and the headmaster, and then identify those boys and girls, interview them differently and for understanding their positive side of personality, and onboard them and get them. Even if one school gives you 1 or 2 boys or girls and then you have to go to 20 schools, we are ready to do that. We scanned all the schools. In fact, we did a list of such schools and colleges in Karnataka, in Maharashtra, in Andhra Pradesh. In Maharashtra, we were going regularly to Sholapur, Kolhapur, Chiplun and Ratnagiri side, and we would get some really good boys and girls from these areas. So you hire them and onboard them. And we would even at one stage, I remember we invited the parents of these children to our big chowdhury kind of a hall and explained to them in local language what are we hiring these children for and what careers they can look forward to and what kind of development. So we hire them for attitude and skills, attitude and their behavior, ethical values, attitude and values, get them to a larger city and train them in skills. And we realize that training them in communication English is not so difficult at that age. They're only 18, 17, 19, these kind of age. And the training included 4 dimensions. Dimension one is technical skills, the operational technical knowledge, technical skills of hoteliering. That is part one, which is very important and crucial. The second part is soft skills. In that language, English language, communication skills and interaction skills, all this. Third one is personality and grooming. Fourth one was training them in what's called Taj Customer Credo and Cultural Pillars. So we had separate manuals, we had created a content for this, and that content was translated into lesson plans. If we say these are the 4 Taj cultural pillars, and this translates into this attitude, behavior, and the manner in which you deal with the guests in the hotel. So we had our own operating manuals, and we trained them, accordingly. And these boys and girls went through a 6 months of rigorous training. We made it deliberately a little tough on them. There would be regularly once in 15 days an assessment, a test, and all that. And at the end of 6 months, you will be surprised that these same village boys, a fisherman's son and a barber's daughter of an interior village, they would come and stand and face all the managers of Taj hotels and give a talk for 1.5 minutes, 90 minutes, and talk about their careers. It was so, heartening to see them grow and blossom like that. And they're raring to go. They're saying, no, we know everything, sir. Don't leave it to us. We will dazzle and delight the hell out of customer. And he will say that what the Taj will do it. And other hotel companies find it difficult. We leave it to us. We will take care of it. And there was enormous voluntary commitment. See, this is an industry where it's a 365 days, 24/7 industry. And actually, the brand Taj hits the road and money comes into the kitty in the interactions that employees have with customers. See, regardless of what you say in your ad campaigns, when an employee does not provide proper service to a guest in the hotel, the guest will not say it's a good brand, so I'll continue to use this hotel. Immediately, he will change his opinion. He will say, these guys don't know their job. I think they've lost it. And I will have to look for a better hotel. But regardless of that advertisement, what advertisement you give, if the service that you provide in the front end is really dazzling and it leaves a very positive impression in the mind of the guest, it has come alive so powerfully. The guest goes with a very fond memory. He says, this is fantastic. These guys are too good. And I need to come back here again. So we called it the Moments of Truth. We borrowed some lessons from Jan Carlson of Scandinavian Airline System, who had turned around a sick and ailing Scandinavian SAS airline into a most profitable, successful airline in Europe at a time when the entire airline industry was going through a glut and recession. He created something which can be called a magic. And it was often quoted case study in the recent business history of service companies. So we met up with some of those guys who had worked with him, and we learned from some of these leaders and brought those models, and we trained our staff comprehensively to reach out to customer and delight and dazzle them. Like I told you the other day, I gave an example. What would happen if you do that? See, there's a room boy who was cleaning the room in President Hotel. I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago when we did all this. He is hired from Chiplun, a small town in Maharashtra. He is a non-senior, non-executive 22-year-old boy. He's servicing the room of a guest who has been staying there for the past 2 months as a long-staying guest. And the guest had some little difficulty in walking freely because he had a minor problem in his leg and he was supporting himself on a walking stick. And one day he steps out for a get-together, a party on the evening, and he returns in the late night. And next day morning, this room boy enters the room to clean the room. He notices the guest just mumbling to himself that he is not able to walk freely. He's missing his walking stick. The room boy helps him to reach the restroom and requests the guest for permission to go back for about 10-15 minutes and return. The guest says, "Okay, carry on." He rushes to the back area of the hotel and goes to the maintenance department, takes a mop stick and requests the carpenter to cut it and make it a makeshift walking stick. And within 15-20 minutes, he returns and he says, "I'm sorry, sir, it got delayed, and this is a walking stick from the hotel for you." Nobody told him to do that. See, it's a voluntary decision to delight the guest. So this kind of, and the guest is delighted. I mean, I didn't even ask you. How did you know? He said, "Sir, I've been cleaning your room. You're a long-staying guest for the past 2 months. I know you supported yourself with a walking stick. I noticed where you normally keep it is not there. So I helped you to reach the restroom. I know exactly what you want. And it's an anticipatory service, which is what delights the guest." So, in order to instill the sense of voluntary commitment in the mind of each of these employees in a distributed service delivery company in 57, 58 locations, from Khajuraho to Kana and Pandavgarh Forest to Varkala in Kerala, and to Bangalore and Hubli and Mangalore and whatever location, across the country to Kashmir to Rajasthan. You have to get this act right. All this has to be manualized. A strict approach has to be followed for sourcing, hiring, training, and empowering frontline people, which is most essential. And there has to be a certain way of doing it, certain process, certain system. And we had got that right. It's a slow cooking item, but through several iterations, we had got a certain rhythm, and that worked for us.
So, what I want to ask you that I understand that you looked at talent acquisition in a rural yard or the background. Now, you also explained to us very well and what are the attributes that you're looking for. But on the other side, from an employee, what about employee expectation? Because many of these boys would have never have seen a 5-star hotel before. Now, for the first time, they see and they enter, they get trained and they work. So that expectation is something which they never would have anticipated. Did that create some kind of a challenge, or was that managed quite consciously well?
No, the first 6 months training was so rigorous. They were the third, fourth month onwards, they were getting exposed to operational areas. They understood very clearly to create that glamour and glitter and build bells and whistles in the lobby and the restaurant, and that cleanliness, hygiene, that spit and polish. That is meant for the guest to discern and pay for it. And we are here to create that for the guest. And that's our business. We are in that business to creating that. So they understand it very clearly. It is put across, trained. See, we said the Taj cultural pillars or cultural credo, we made it very simple for them. And we said warm welcome, number one. Pillar number one. Pillar number two, anticipatory service. Pillar number three, fond farewell. Pillar number four, zero defect product. So each of these pillars we culled out. If you are a maintenance technician, if you are a bellboy, we had, let us say, 36 job roles in the hotel. Front office, restaurant, kitchen, engineering department, housekeeping department. There are multiple departments and even back areas, finance and HR, everything. Let us say we have 36 job roles, specific job roles. Now, in that job role itself, we would incorporate in the job description, how is it that a maintenance technician provide warm welcome, anticipatory service, fond farewell, and zero defect product. So, what is it that a maintenance technician can do to offer this to the customer, to the guest who stays in the hotel? What is it that a houseboy, a room boy can do to offer this to the customer? So, they had detailed guidelines, books, and detailed manuals which goes into training, based on which training is delivered to them, to those respective people. And there are abundant case studies, how it has flipped, where mistakes have happened, how not to do that mistake, how to do continuously better, and better. So we had a bouquets and brickbats, notice board at the back. So whoever has done something really outstanding is picture, photo in whichever hotel of Taj across the world. Within 48 hours, it goes on to the notice board of all Taj hotels across the world. And with that, let us say he's one Ramesh in a hotel in Coorg, in Madikeri. That his photograph with what he did to the guest goes up to the notice board of all the 120, 140 hotels in the world. And that afternoon, when he's in the lunchroom having lunch, the general manager goes and calls the attention of all the people sitting there having lunch. He praises Ramesh for what he did, like that room boy example who did that walking stick. He invites him and he hands over a token gift for him, and his photograph goes on the notice boards of all the hotels. So he feels extremely charged up, delighted. This is the kind of company you need to work for. His assurance and confidence to serve guests better and better and better goes up, and he becomes innovative. He comes up with a lot of interesting imagination, and he starts doing things differently to please the guest within the, of course, the framework of rules and guidelines we have in the company. And so this is a continuous journey. So, and then brickbats is where this is stripped. In that case, we will not mention the name of the hotel and the name of the employee. We would just say in one of the hotels some mistake like this has happened and narrate that by taking some dummy names. If there is the name of the person was David, we will put it as John. If it happened in Delhi, we will say it happened in Fisherman's Cove, Chennai. Like this, we completely camouflage the whole thing. And we put it up, and so that that is also a learning. In mistakes that we commit, how to overcome those mistakes, also a learning. So we do that, and continuously reinforce guest-oriented behavior with lot of empowerment to the frontline employees. So that is the mission, and that is the way we work, and that is the training we provide for all general managers, for all departmental managers, to build a world-class organization.
Very, very interesting. You mentioned that you would train those boys or the resources for about 6 months after you acquire them. Out of curiosity, what has been the dropout rate? Have you had any dropouts at all? Or
well, there are dropouts, and if they get there are circumstances and contexts that are different for each family. So there are boys who have gone and who are working in Dubai for $1 salary. There are people who have gone to Australia, New Zealand. And when you train somebody extremely well to meet international standards of excellence, you should expect some turnover. But the turnover was very minimum, very minimum. And it was not even 7%, 6%. Sometimes it would go up to 9%. So competition is increasing. If somebody is in a financial pressure at home, he has to get his sister married, and these kind of financial, predicaments will be there. And some company in Hilton opens up next door and offers him double the salary and a two-step promotion, and he's tempted to go. No?
Yeah.
So these things happen. I don't say it never happens, but that is minimum. And we are happy, they carry the flag of Taj into these hotels, and they talk about how Taj does some of these things so systematically, and it brings us a lot of happiness, and it's good for us. We like it.
Great. The other question that I wanted to ask you is that these boys have been there for long with you, and I wanted to just checking if you were able to narrate one example of a boy coming from a very low-level village, and then who's with his sheer inputs and with his own hard work, and he succeeded so well that he's gone on to become one of the leaders within the organization. Has it
Yeah,
happened?
I hired one guy from Jadhav, Mahendra Jadhav from Hubli. There's a place near outskirts Hubli called Mundukot. So I hired him from there, and he was in a convent school there, a small convent school. He never knew how to speak one word English, a very nervous boy. He went through this 6 months training in 1989-90 in Bangalore. And he was a banquet waiter in banquets department. He was working those days as a steward. And he would come, and once in a while he would stand at a distance and he would like to talk to me and all that. They're very energetic fellow. I said to him, come, Mahendra, what is it? That is the time when these computers were making inroads in the tabletop, desktop computers. And he said, sir, after I finish my shift, I would like to, with your permission, sit in your HR department and learn how to operate these computers. I like that, enthusiasm of the boy. And I said, please go ahead. And there will be someone who will even teach you. There's nothing to worry. In fact, that prompted me to set up computer classes and all that. So he started learning computers. And within 1.5 years, he was so adept with it. And my HR, I was the general manager HR, and one of the officers working in HR department came and told me, sir, this guy is too good. If you permit me, I'll take him into HR department as an assistant. I said, I will not stop it. You go ahead and, if that is good and that is helpful, and he is also happy, do it. So he moved into HR department as an assistant. In 2 years, he became HR supervisor. And in about 3 years, he became all this before he was even 27, 28. He became an assistant manager HR.
Wow.
And then one day he disappeared. And by then I was in Delhi. I was in Bombay. I was shifted to Bombay. I went to the vice president. And he was then, out of curiosity, when I visited Bangalore, I went to West End Hotel. I asked very incidentally that Prabhakar, sir, he has gone and joined a software company. Forget the name of the company. It's some multinational company. He became HR manager in that software company. And that he worked there for 4 or 5 years, and then he landed up in the United States. He became general manager HR of in the corporate office of that company. And he has now become a citizen of America. And his family is there. And he, last time, about 5-6 years ago, when I went, I stayed in Taj Pier Hotel in New York, and he came to know through Taj contacts. He was keeping tab of my coming to New York. So he said, sir, I want to see you. And he came and met me, and I was so delighted to see him being a general manager HR, working out of New York, living in New Jersey as a citizen of US. That boy whom I recruited in a village outskirts of Hubli. So there are multiple stories like this. There are quite a few who have become general managers of hotels, and they have gone to Australia and New Zealand. They are doing exceptionally well there. So see, that's why I'm saying, the foul cry that there is no talent in India may not be right. There is abundant talent. There is a responsibility on us to hire the right kind of people with the right attitudes and groom them and give them empowerment and responsibility. They will also blossom.
Excellent. Quite a very detailed kind of discussion, and all of which is excellent knowledge for those that have been listening to you. Now let's move on to a slightly different level, into an experience that happens once in a lifetime. I'm talking about the Taj terrorist attack, the Taj hotels, and that was there. That was live telecast. People are worried, and the images that they saw, the bloodbath, and the terrorists running around, the mercenaries with a gun, killing people, and this fire that was under smoke blowing out of the property. But we knew that the people and some of the employees were still within Taj, and they're keeping those guests there, feeding them and helping them survive, and trying to heal them some of the wounds and all of that. And we know these are not employees who are trapped in. There are certain employees who are out of sheer the commitment went reported for the duty and continued to work the way that they normally go about during a normal day. Now, that is phenomenal. Now, how did that happen? You were the person that was very much on the ground at that time. Can you throw a little bit more light and give us some?
Yeah, well, it was 26th November 2008 was the day, and night 9:35, 9:40 kind of time, four armed terrorists carrying AK-57 automatic Chinese machine guns and knapsack bags full of explosives like RDX and all that. They barged into the lobby, opening fire indiscreetly and killing anybody and everybody who came in their way. And it was complete chaos and mayhem, and nobody knew what was going on. I mean, we were taken by a complete shock, and they were moving from location to location, killing anybody who came in their sight using their AK-47, AK-57 automatic Chinese gun. And so within 15 minutes of these people entering the hotel and doing this kind of a dastardly act, the information, there's a lot of employees who are working in back areas. Information flew into back areas, and telephone board is always hidden. It is somewhere at the back, even of the reception area. So messages reached, all our senior leaders. Ratan Tata and Krishna Kumar was the then vice chairman of the company. They all landed in the doorstep of the hotel within half an hour of this incident starting. And in fact, Ratan Tata and Krishna Kumar, knowing that there are terrorists inside, pushed themselves and wanted to go inside. But fortunately, when police had come in and they prevented them from going inside. So these are all some very unique memories I have. When we talk about leadership, this leadership is very different, And if the police had not prevented him, we don't know what would have happened to both of them when they entered the lobby, where there are terrorists holding AK-40, AK-57 automatic guns. So, and all that we could do for the next 3-4 days is to stand on the other side of the platform, that footpath, and watch this most painful and horrible spectacle of, gunshot sounds from various floors and fire gushing from the windows of some of these rooms. And we don't know what is going on inside. Slowly and gradually, Marine commandos came and took charge. A morning at about 6 o'clock or so, special protection group, the SPG commandos came from Bombay, and they took charge. And we were continuously hearing gunshot sounds, and we were hearing blast sounds and all that, and we have no idea what was going on inside. So what happened thereafter, after 3 days, we were allowed to go inside. When Major General Gupta was commanding this whole operation, he came back. We were standing outside, with enormous anxiety, emotionally, we completely disturbed and broken down. The entire world media is there, international media, national English media, regional media. There are about 150 people who are holding their camera. And they're all standing. You name them, who are well known to you today in English media, electronic media, they were all there. Rajdeep Sardesai, Barkat, and Varanam Goswami. The entire Jingbang was there. They were continuously telecasting this for all right and wrong reasons, as though it's some, anyway. So the terror attack happened in about 10 locations, different locations. It happened in Nariman House and Boribandar and Chhatrapati Shivaji Station, Kama Hospital and Muhammad Ali Road, Santa Cruz. It happened in about 10 locations in Bombay. So after when we entered, they came out. Major General Gupta came and told us, we have killed all the terrorists. You want to come inside, just only till the lobby you can come in. And we went there. It was looking like a completely ravaged battlefield. Everything torn, broken, and pieces, and some blood there, dead bodies. We could see all that inside. And till then, we have no idea how many people, what is the number of casualty, and how many people are injured, how many wounded, all that, they were checking out. They were taking account of all that. Now, they did not allow us to go inside anywhere, and they said, look here, we are combing, we are bringing sniffer dogs, and we are combing the entire hotel once again comprehensively for any, explosives that they may have left in, air conditioning ducts and kitchen. We don't know where all they have done, whatever. So we need to get all this out, and we don't want any further casualties. Please don't go anywhere. So some letters started pouring in to all of us. Ratan Tata, Krishna Kumar, myself, we all started receiving letters from guests who narrated stories of how they were saved by employees. Couple of things I would like to narrate is the general manager was outside that day. Karambir Kang, his family, his wife and 2 children were in the hotel in 6th floor, the palace wing. And he comes to know there is an emergency in the hotel, and he comes back to the hotel and he takes charge. He manages to reach his office cabin through the back door, one trap door near the laundry, and he reaches there and he takes charge, talking to the telephone operators, back area people, and trying to do whatever best he can to mitigate the disaster. Now, but he lost his wife and 2 children in the terror attack. Terrorists killed them, and he didn't know that. He was very busy with this salvage operation, this damage control operations, and he was holding it very, very. 3 days he has not slept. But when we brought the dead bodies of his wife and 2 children, nobody could control him. He broke down, and he was completely unmanageable. He's lost his whole family. He's alone now. That was the situation on that moment, and it's very difficult to console someone who goes through that. And not a single employee left the hotel. There were 540 employees. All the 540 employees remained in the hotel. On the contrary, some of them who have gone out had come back to the hotel to take care of the guests. And in the process of saving the guests, they have laid down their life. The kitchen brigade, 3 of them, in order to save the lives of people in chambers who are sitting there, and walked out of the kitchen, their closed doors, faced the terrorist bullets and saved the guests. So there are any number of stories that I have, guests narrated. Otherwise, we would not come to know. Guests told us that this is how we were saved by your employee. He laid down his life, and we are alive today. One story I'll narrate, and I'll close it, which I can never forget. There is a restaurant called Wasabi, if you go to Harbour Bar. As you enter Taj Mahal Hotel and turn left, the second this restaurant is a Harbour Bar, and the upstairs is a Wasabi restaurant. It's a Japanese restaurant. And the terrorists threw RDX and went up through the spiral staircase and threw the RDX there. And there were 3-4 waiters and about 10-12 guests who were sitting in the restaurant. They ducked their heads. The terrorists opened fire, and on the walls we could see the bullets. See, the immediate reaction was to duck below the table. But they threw RDX. The entire restaurant catches fire. RDX is extremely inflammable. And their idea was that they do this all along the galley, the pathway, and all the people will come running out. They come towards the lobby, and later on they can come back and kill them. So their casualty numbers will be higher. It must have been the plan of these fellows. So as they left, the senior-most person there was a senior waiter called Varghese, Thomas Varghese, and he said, "Look here, let us save the guests first. I know it's fire. We are standing in the fire. But let us pull the guests out and save them." So those 9-10 guests who were there were taken through the spiral staircase. They were falling one over the other, and they were pushed into the kitchen door, and they were told where they should go and wait. And all this he is doing, standing in the fire, helping the guests. And then he says all employees should go. And employees, the 3-4 people also rush. All this is happening in 30-40 seconds, saving 15-20 people. And he is the last to go. As he was about to enter the kitchen door, one terrorist comes back in the meantime, and he notices Varghese going into the kitchen door, and he shoots at him, a spray of bullets in his body. The last fellow who escaped notices this. He knew that Varghese is no more, and the rest of them escape. As suggested, they all go and wait in a room, lock themselves inside. They were told not to open the door. So at about 4 o'clock in the morning, the security of the hotel come and rescue them and ask them to go and stay in President Hotel, another Taj hotel nearby. And they are crying and they are saying, we narrowly escaped death and it's all because of this guy, this waiter Varghese. And we would like to go and at least pay respect to his family. Most likely he's dead. So they go to his place in Mahim, one bedroom small house in Mahim Creek. And police warn them, the terrorists are there all across the city. We have no clear clarity on what is going on in the city. So we want to risk. They said, no, we don't mind. Then they all decide to go and meet her. They hug her and cry. And they say that I think her husband has taken bullets on his body. I don't know. I hope he's alive. But he was not alive. We know later on he was dead. So Ratan Tata says that he would like to meet all the dependents of the deceased, whoever has laid down their life, their wives and children, parents, he would like to meet. And we called all those people, dependents of these 15 employees and 20 guests separately. And this Mrs. Varghese walks in with her 2 sons and her mother, and they've been flown down. The mother has been flown down from Kottayam. And they walk inside and they're all crying. And this woman says, sir, I am not unhappy, I am happy. My husband laid down his life. His passion was Taj. And he wanted to give, he would normally say, I don't mind giving up my life for Taj. And I never realized it's going to actually happen work like that for him. Poor fellow. And she was crying continuously. And we are so happy that he has raised the bar of commitment, service and duty to a completely new level, to an international, to the world-class level. And we are proud that he is my husband and he is the father of these 2 children, my children. All that we need to do is to put up his portrait, in our living room, and I'll teach my children how to practice these work values, ethics and commitment at work. And money comes and goes. It is not so important.
Yes.
Who is saying this? The wife of a waiter.
These are. Sorry, go on.
After she, we all are, that was early days, when this happened, and we got emotional. It was very moving when she said that. And we were all silent. What would you answer when she is saying that? How would you respond? What would be your... So silence is the answer. So when she left, Mr. Ratan Tata looked at all of us and asked us, how do you describe this? Look at her commitment to values, human values. And she says, sir, he will go to the kingdom of God. And we want to only emulate his good life, good work he did. So he says, look at her values. This is human values. And I know in my own company, multiple companies, there are people who will be, quarreling with each other for not getting a promotion, one promotion getting delayed, assistant vice president not becoming vice president, 1 year delay, he develops diabetes and blood pressure. And look at this fellow, he's laid down his life and she's cheerful. She says, we are not unhappy.
It's wonderful, sir. But this, whatever that you've said, is now become global phenomenon in the sense that some of the international universities have picked it up as a case study. Is there something that you'd like to share a few of those?
Yeah, this has become a case study in Harvard, and Harvard, Dr. Rohit Deshpande met me, and I spent almost one full day with him. He's a professor of Harvard Business School, and he has done a case study which has been published in Harvard Business Review in the year 2010, December issue. If you can Google it and get it, Ordinary Heroes of Taj is the title of the... And see, with the kind of work that we systematically did over a period of one and a half decades, Taj became one of the best service managed companies in the world. And we won the Gallup Global Great Workplace Award 4 years consecutively. Gallup has some 1,800, 2,000 customers in about 50 countries across the world. Gallup polls is very well known, and it's a very, very respected, very professional body. And they select 15 companies across the world for outstanding customer service and employee engagement. And we appeared in that list 4 years consecutively from 2010 up to 2014. but one of the best companies to work for in the world,
Mm.
and only company from India when we appeared. So
Right.
there has been recognition, and when you talk to the workers, they say we don't know what it means, but we are just doing our jobs. I mean, it is. We have been taught a certain way of doing our work, and we are doing it. We are proud of it. There is an extraordinary sense of pride among employees to work for Taj. Anybody who has worked for Taj for a couple of years and has left and joined any other company, at random you can pick 2-3 people and ask him what are his views on Taj. He says, "Wow! I mean, I can never forget that company, and I'm so totally committed, and I have such fond memories of working in Taj." See, that is the culture one builds,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
which translates into whatever you want to call it, world class, world beating service.
Mm.
And so that is the story of culture building. And there is a demonstration, like you asked me, has it translated into anything which is great, which is memorable? I think this example comes alive.
Mm.
And there are 100 stories like this, like
Mm.
Varghese. I can
Yeah.
keep on narrating stories, and you will be stunned at listening to how employees face the bullets of the terrorists and saved guests.
Mm. Amazing. Now I think we've almost come to end of our time. So there are some questions, sir,
Sure.
that I'm going to put up on the screen for you to answer. So Narshiman says, not heard much strikes or lockouts in hotels. What is the hidden secret recipe, sir?
Yeah, you are talking about Taj Hotels, huh?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had any lockout strike and all that. I was told when I joined Taj in '84, in 1979 or so, one strike happened in Taj Bombay that lasted for half an hour, and that was the only strike we have ever faced. See, that
Mm.
depends on your people building efforts, your care, concern that you demonstrate for employees. See, if you give them a feeling for all employees working at whatever level, that it is a collective human endeavor. All of us have certain roles and responsibilities, and we have to discharge our roles, eminently and competently towards a task of delighting the customer. And so everybody is important. If you give him a feeling that he matters, you matter. You are an integral part of my family. There is a bigger meaning to your life. So that inspires them deeply. There is a purpose that is aligned to. He gets aligned to a deeper purpose, that we are here to bring about a complete change and transformation in the way service is provided in hotel industry, and only Taj is doing it. Nobody else can do it. That
Mm.
sense of commitment, pride, passion drives them to perform outstanding work within the organization, and incentives are also linked to customer service, customer satisfaction studies. Like I told you, we had invited John Fleming from Harvard University, who has done seminal work for about 20 years and linking customer satisfaction to employee engagement. And we did some work with him, and it gave us some interesting results. So this is a continuous journey.
Great. One more question that I've got here is from Payas Maria Prasad. Did Taj look at recruiting talent from competitors? If so, for what? I think W is for what?
Very, very little. Very little.
Mm, mm,
We hardly recruited anybody from competition.
mm. And
And
sorry, you go on.
yeah, we must have. If I have recruited, let us say in a year, 1,000 people, maybe 10 are maybe from competition. When there is some urgent project, we open a new hotel in Andamans and we have only 100 people, we desperately need some 5 people. The situation is such that there is urgency, there is non-availability. Only in such cases we recruit from competition.
That's amazing. Now that proves one thing, that you must have also had a very good leadership development program. For
Absolutely.
someone to sustain within an organization for long, they cannot remain where they started. Obviously, they have to progress well, and their expectations are met, and they, yeah, Any
That's
insight with do you have a unique leadership development program which you're very proud of? This is only happens within Taj. Anything like that?
Yeah. See, there is a program we introduced called SPEED. SPEED is an acronym, SPEED, Special Program for Employee Engagement and Development.
Right. Mm.
Hmm?
Mm. So,
Uh, yeah.
is that hospitality related or is it general leadership?
Only for employees. You see, this program looks at identifying through rigorous tests and assessments. Assessment centers are created for room cleaners. Can you believe? Room cleaners.
Mm.
And we across the country, we pick 15 or 20 best room cleaners. There are, I don't go into the parameters of selection. This is very comprehensive and detailed, well thought through scientific ways of doing it. Attitude and guest orientation and technical knowledge, all that, it's included. So we pick those 15 guys, 20 guys and put them through a 1-year training program in an independent location. We used to take them to Aurangabad, where we have a hotel school and a hotel, and we train those 20 boys. And these 20 boys are promotion and shifted to other locations. If one person I have hired, let us say this David who I have taken from Goa, he goes through 1-year training and gets promoted, double promoted, and goes to Bangalore. And somebody else goes to Delhi. Like that, if he's from Bangalore, he goes to Delhi. Like this, we shuffle them, we give them some kind of an accommodation, we nurture them, we take care of them. It was working fabulously well. And there is so much excitement, even for cleaners. They know that if they do well, they can one day. I remember there is one guy by name Wazim Pasha. Wazim Pasha was such a fabulous guy. He got so well comprehensively trained. He became a housekeeping manager. And I think about 15 years ago, he left Taj and he became executive chief housekeeping director in one hotel in Dubai. So he keeps in touch with me. These are all boys who are recruited from villages, small towns. I think.
It looks like you got the best organization one can work for, and we certainly believe in that, and that is quite a credible organization. But before we go, there's one last question. Is there anything that you ever think, Mr. Srinivas, that we could have done better? Is there something that we could have done better? You had a long career, and you look back and you think, we could have done better. Is there anything at all that you think there's something that you could have done better?
You see, we could have done even more through these internal promotions. We are the best. We did our best. We were bringing in a good number of people as MBAs and TAs officers. And, their assimilation into the hotel industry, hotel services, I always felt we could have done something better. And see, because nobody in this industry can have a chip on the shoulder and show off that he is a special person, special kind of guy, because he is in the lobby and he's in a restaurant, he's a 5-star environment. All that happens in a competition hotel company, and I've noticed that, you can never have that stiff and stylish polish and then kind of indirectly looking down upon others. See, that culture is exactly the opposite of that culture is Taj. We never allowed that to creep in. But when these boys came in, MBAs and TAs officers, and we could have done better in building that humbleness, that culture of humility, which these boys who have grown up the ranks or come up and become general managers, they demonstrate. So there are a lot of learnings we can keep on improving on various fronts.
Excellent, Mr. Srinivas. It took more than an hour of absolute packed wisdom, knowledge, experience that you shared with us. Again, very unique experiences, not often heard and replicated outside the Taj group of hotels or within Taj, and really look forward to more such interesting conversations with you, hopefully into the future. And viewers, thanks for your excellent participation.
Thank you.
On behalf, we would like to thank you, sir. And
thank you, sir. Thank you, Salomji. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for all of you participating. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Leave now. I enjoyed being with you. Thank you.
Thank you. All good.